The 2024 Summer Olympics and Paralympics were hosted in Paris, with many of the swimming components of the Games held in the main river that runs through the city of Paris. This got a lot of attention in the media, mostly because this river has historically not been of bathing quality. Many Olympic events were postponed during the Games due to high pathogen levels. Fluidion is a water quality monitoring company that Isle has known for a long time. This is them presenting at one of our TAG events many years ago. The quick summary of Fluidion is they are a very R&D focused innovator with several products that can monitor pathogen counts and water quality parameters. I recently did my usual tech scouting game and checking in on them and their website to see how they're getting on and whether they have anything new. So imagine my intrigue when I saw Fluidion was running their own private sampling program at the Paris Olympics and reporting the data openly on live in a live dashboard. This wasn't the first time Fluidion has run such an open data initiative, as Fluidion is trying to create bodies of evidence that change the thinking behind the way regulations require us to monitor water quality. Fluidion are on a long-term mission to demonstrate that the way we measure alkaline water can be improved, and the tools are already available. Regulations ask us to consider free-floating pathogens, shown here on the right, but Fluidion says that we also need to be looking at how many pathogens are hitching a ride on the particles that float in our waterways and are currently going unnoticed or uncounted when it comes to pathogen counts. That is reflected on the left. So with so many eyes on the Olympics, Fluidion started getting a lot of media attention for their open data initiative, but the interesting water science wasn't coming through, to me at least. Meet Dan, head of Fluidion. I spoke with Dan to get the full version from the disruptors themselves.
Thank you, Stuart. So I'm Dan Angelescu, CEO of Fluidion. Fluidion is a water technology company specializing in novel methodologies and instrumentation for measuring water quality. And myself, I'm trained as a physicist, and I'm specializing in physics and biology as well, of the very, very small scale, so at the micron level and below.
Fantastic, thanks, Ed. So Fluidion has been around for a while at this point, and you've had some success. So why do this open data initiative now? Why this case study at the Paris Olympics in 2024?
Very good question. You know, we have an R&D center that's actually based in Paris, so the Seine River is a little bit of a playground for us for doing our R&D. So we've been studying it for many years now. And we've also worked with the city of Paris to monitor multiple locations in the Seine River and, you know, in preparation for the Olympic Games, and also the bathing water site that was opened in Paris since 2017 in a canal, in the Ourcq Canal, that we've been monitoring as well every single year since 2017. So
this is home territory for you. You're a local.
We are local, and indeed, you know, we've been really studying this river in great detail. And this was an opportunity for us to actually measure during some of the most exciting events, you know, the 2024 Olympics, but also the 2024 Olympics came with the inauguration of a big infrastructure project here in Paris to capture rainwater and sewage. And it was a unique opportunity to monitor that live and to be there right as it opens and see the effect of that. You don't often have this kind of opportunity. So we took advantage of it.
No, it certainly caught our attention as well, and why we want to speak to you about it. So digging into the details of what we want to speak about, how did you go about gathering that data and comparing it to the official data?
For the 2024 Olympics, we did our independent project on the side, and we opened the Open Data Initiative, which is a website where we publish these results every single day. So we didn't just measure using our technology, we also measured using the standard laboratory technology, which means that we do have data that relates to the standard methods today, and then data that comes from the new technology that we developed, so we can compare them and we can see how well they fit. We've also compared that with the data provided by the city of Paris. The only problem was that that data was only provided weeks after the events, so we could compare retrospectively, whereas we provided the data in real time.
Yeah, it was quite a good joy to follow the blog in real time and actually see the daily results come through. But what is it you were measuring? What is it that you're actually trying to show? let's get into the science of it, because it is important.
So what we saw was something really interesting. What we saw is that our technology measuring planktonic, these are the free-floating bacteria, provided results which were very close to the standard laboratory method, which confirms the fact that these methods essentially see the free E. coli count. But the results, the comprehensive results, which took into account these fecal particles, sometimes were a factor of 3, a factor of 5 higher. So you actually
it's not just a little bit you're missing, it's a significant amount of pathogens in the water that are being overlooked.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about situations where the standard laboratory method, for example, this happened during the World Triathlon during the triathlon event on July 31st. The standard methods measured below 500, whereas the comprehensive count was over 2,000. And the
governing body limit was about 1,000. So that's actually way over what their own rules and regulations say. Well, I mean, they were using the standard method.
Absolutely. So this puts, these events in a gray zone where, by the standard methods, which we know they don't measure these fecal particles, you get good results. But in reality, when you look at everything that's inside those fecal particles, you get much higher counts. And the problem is that the athletes that are competing, they don't filter out these particles. I mean, if they drink water from the river, they will drink
the particles
and the particles. So they are exposed to this risk in reality, but the standard methods are not capturing it.
So, for argument's sake, this isn't a free-floating and particulate attached matter where pathogens rather, where a correlation factor can be used. It's not just a matter of the standard methods are close enough and there just needs to be a bit of adjustment or correlation to get the better picture. It really is two different things influenced differently by events.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point, because you could think, well, maybe we can just adjust the standard. We can adjust the levels. No, it doesn't work that way, because you can have waters where you have absolutely no particles. So the comprehensive count will be equal to the free floating count and to the laboratory count. And you have waters where you have a significant number of particles where the comprehensive count can be 100 times higher than the free count. We have had those situations. So this variability makes it impossible to actually adjust the risk levels or the thresholds. It doesn't work that way. You actually need to measure the bacteria attached to these particles in order to create new epidemiology studies that will provide new risk levels, but that are based on the actual correct count of bacteria, not by what the standard methods measure today.
In terms of the data that you've collected and proving the point that you have to measure both the free-floating and particulate matter, what does that mean now? What are the hard questions the regulators need to ask themselves?
Well, that's a very good question, Stuart. And yes, we do think that we have uncovered sort of a blind spot of the current regulations. And we have uncovered the fact that, in fact, they do not correctly assess risk in certain types of water. And these are specifically urban bathing waters, which can be impacted by untreated sewage going into rivers, for example. And a lot of cities now are looking at opening bathing waters in their rivers. There is a swimmable city alliance. I mean, there are many movements around the world. And we believe that in order to ensure the safety of recreational users in these waters, the regulations need to change so as to comprise not only the standard laboratory methods with their current limitations, but also comprehensive counts. So there is a big effort now that we are embarking upon to publicize our results and to discuss with regulators and to present our method. And not only there are other methods that can do comprehensive counts, but present the case study that we actually need to include these in order to have proper assessments of risk and protect public health effectively from waterborne disease.
Fantastic. That's what it comes to at the end of the day. Although the standard methods do help protect and provide that safety within the waters, it's not the complete picture that it provides, and there's additional risk, like you're saying.
Exactly. Yes. So basically, the regulations need to catch up with the latest science, and that is how we can ensure the best protection.
Well, that's the fun thing about science and innovation space. That the goalpost is always moving as we learn more and can do more.
Absolutely. Science always moves forward.
So I do encourage you to look through the data yourselves on Fluidion's open data platform and see what your take on this is. That URL is on the screen now. Dan also provided a really good analogy on their webpage where he talks about how a monitor is a policeman counting commuters on the road, but counting a bus full of people as a commuter as one, because there's only one bus, doesn't make sense, and we're missing all the stowaways in the bus that we should actually be counting as well. Again, that just reinforces the points that while current standards do provide a layer of safety for public health, if we really want to know how many pathogens are in our water, we need to count all of the pathogens and not just the free-floating ones. So thank you for joining us today, Dan.